I want to talk about and explain what is awareness. Very often, awareness gets substituted by attention. So what is awareness really? And what is the relationship between awareness and attention? Awareness is the ability to notice, the ability to perceive, the perceiving. The act of perceiving without a subject or object. We probably underestimate the importance of awareness because the mind struggles to comprehend. Why is it important? Lasting growth in any area of your life is to increase awareness, whether we realize this or not. Now, there's a lot of challenges when it comes to awareness. The mind dismisses topics like this, and it easily pretends to know, to disregard any investigation into it. Because the very investigation into what awareness is makes us aware that awareness is not the mind. The mind's capability is to put attention on areas of awareness. So this is the catch-22. Attention is always awareness, but awareness is not always attention. So knowing is one thing, and having it is also vastly different. Knowing about awareness and having awareness is not the same thing. The willingness to inquire into the subject means that you are willing to prove your mind and your ego wrong. Which means your survival instincts will kick in. The mind and the ego will start protecting themselves and try their very best to convince you that what you are busy with is bullshit. Awareness needs time to marinate, to be contemplated. The next challenge is the very lack of awareness means that you are not aware. So there is no need to further explore. It ends up as, I know. I know what I need to know. I know all that is. That's what the mind tries to convince you of. This allows a giant self-deception. It is a design trap or a blind spot in your relative view. And this creates another catch-22 paradox. Because you are not aware that you are not aware. You do not know that which you do not know. So the person thinks that they know everything, learns nothing. That's the paradox of wisdom. Thinking that you know everything, you learn nothing new. It is the very doubt of you knowing something that creates an open-minded perspective of further investigation. So this investigation has to be genuine. It cannot be something that you try or something that you reinforce or that you want to reinforce. Maybe that's how it starts, but it has to be genuine. This also leads to the assumption that you are aware and more so, that your interpretation of what you are aware of is correct and the truth. Again, this is what the mind wants you to believe. The ego and the mind hinders awareness a lot, not just a little. So, if it hinders the truth and the relative, or whether this is an absolute or a relative truth, that's not the point of this. It is the laziness of the mind being portrayed through this ability to be aware or ability to notice and perceive that puts us in different states, like the victim, the victor, or the vehicle. It is so easy to accept your victim role, because that means that you have acknowledged and accepted the opinion of the mind and the ego, because no longer will you continue to investigate further possibilities and opportunities. It's much easier to blame someone else. What happens if you remove blame? What happens if you remove right or wrong? Being open-minded does not mean first show me the proof and then I believe. Open-mindedness means I am genuinely open to see different possibilities to this situation. So a person that is asking for proof is asking from a closed-minded space for the proof to prove what they closed-mindedly already believe. And if the proof is providing with something different, there's no way that they're going to be open-minded enough to believe that. So this is a spiral loop going on. Open-mindedness is a key concept for awareness. Awareness cannot be given. Awareness cannot be created. Awareness can only be recognized. So from here, in order to preserve themselves, this is the mind and the ego, they will do anything to convince you and to superimpose their concept and their opinion onto a certain interpretation of reality or awareness to prove their righteousness. This can be anything. It could be, why do I question and doubt everything? I'm so negative. I need to work on my negative view. I need to change, fix, and improve myself. I need to develop myself. I need to be a human becoming, because if I am that human becoming, I will eventually be eternally happy. Just this next thing. If I have this next thing, if this desire is fulfilled, then I will be satisfied. This is a misinterpretation. This is a misuse of using awareness to feed the mind and ego's righteousness. So this then goes to and leads to the manipulation of perception, which essentially actually blocks true awareness. The mind tricks itself, but also it tricks the awareness listening to the mind. Because we forget about the thing that you are the knower of your mind. You are not the mind. The mind is trying to convince you that you are it. You are the mind. You are these thoughts. They are extremely, extremely important. You have to listen because you have to react and respond to this. Whether this is something that goes on in the background of your mind, something that you might not be able to verify firsthand, but there's a direct relationship. Your mind is constantly asking 3 questions. And these 3 questions happen so quickly that it is out of our conscious awareness, meaning the interaction with the world. Because the mind needs to automatize things in order for it to use the least amount of energy to be effective. These 3 questions are: number 1, what is this? Number 2 involves the ego. What does this mean? And number 3, what do I do with it? Now, what happens if the mind cannot answer one of those questions? Because if we are prioritizing the mind, then we are asking the mind to know this. We are disregarding that awareness. Awareness knows. But we are depending on the mind to know this too. So if one of those questions cannot be answered, you're left feeling confused. And the mind is constantly thinking like a modem. One of those old modems that link to the internet, making those noises. I like to call it mind music. It's not always a symphony, sometimes it's just noise. But nonetheless, the mind creates noise or noisy music, trying to figure out what is this next step. I haven't experienced this before, because that's all the mind can go on. It can only go on what it has experienced before. It has to use imagination to try to predict what is going to happen next. But it cannot really come up with something new. It can only construct different aspects of the past and of memory into the now. But awareness knows. And awareness doesn't try to prove itself. So when ego righteousness and mind righteousness comes in, it would sound a little bit like, I knew this would happen. I told you this would happen. I had a feeling and I did not follow it. Where true creative essence or conscious existence or God or eternal awareness, pure potential, whatever you want to call it, there are so many labels and so many of the things are overused. So the symbolism and the meaning connected to all these things will be different for everyone. And I also understand that listening to my words, you will create your own meaning. But that's not my responsibility. I use words to bring across a point, and I understand the word becomes the vehicle to bring across the vibration which is the true meaning. The word just points you into the correct direction, but it can never be that. And your mind is going to understand the word, while the presence and the awareness is just simply absorbing and marinating into the frequency in between, because silence in and of itself is the transmuter of noise. Was it not for silence, noise cannot exist. So they can do anything to prove their righteousness. They can make you doubt. They can make you believe that you are negative and that you are a human becoming, like I said. And this leads to the ego convincing you, capital Y, of its desire to be the hero. I've noticed this in my own life, and also I noticed this with a lot of people that I meet. Everyone has this hero complex. I want to save myself and I want to save the world with love and light. The world is not the problem. There is no problem. the perception is the problem, or more so, the I is the problem. Because the I controls the perception. Be careful of this, because in a way you are manipulating what is to fit into your ego's box. The mind tricks you into thinking that you are aware. You assume that you know yourself. One assumes that one has will and control over one's life. And one is unable to admit this to oneself. And the awareness is not there to correct this. One won't do this work if one thinks that one has already acquired self-control and awareness. See the paradox? There's no motivation to go journeying for an expanded awareness if you are already knowledgeable and you already have the answers and you already know what to do. It is very essential to appreciate how deeply asleep you are before embarking on the quest to raising awareness. Because until then, it simply won't happen. We are addicted to being asleep. It is the easy way. It is the lazy and the easy way to simply take what others say as a fact. It is an easy and lazy way to follow what the authorities say. And this is a construct that has been going around for ages. Creating new technology, creating comfort, creating luxury. Why? So that the mind follows the physical. So that the mind becomes lazy. In a very interesting book that I read a long time ago that really changed my perspective was Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And he speaks around, if you drift, meaning you are not questioning the truthfulness of the moment, which means you're drifting and allowing someone else to think for you. You're agreeing to believe words from another, and those words from someone else becomes your reality. Now, to me, this is infuriating. I don't want anyone else to think for me. Don't get me wrong, sometimes it's so annoying. I question everything. And that plants doubts. But it is in the doubt that exists the truth. To me, doubt is the path to a truth, whether it's relative or absolute. in the sleeping state, and I'm not talking about going to your bed and sleeping. I'm talking about being awake but in a sleeping state. It is possible to imagine how much more awareness it is available. It's impossible. It's incompetent. You do not know what you do not know. So the lack of awareness comes from lying to yourself, believe it or not. And I can share this because I used to be a compulsive liar. And we all are. It's not lies that will hurt anyone. It's lies that make the story more intriguing. It's lies that makes the guilt less. It's lies that the construct of the mind would make it acceptable. If someone else told you this white lie, you would believe them more, because you would find it viable if this really happened to them, for that to be an excuse of why they either did or did not do something. When we construct meaning out of reality, we do that based on the symbolism and the meaning we give to symbolism. So does it make sense? And can you notice that the symbolism you give and the meaning you attach to what is never that? If you think about the symbol of the sun in astrology is a circle. Is that circle the sun? It's a representation of the sun. But it can never be that which it represents. And on top of that, a memory and a feeling that was present in the body once you came across that symbol or phenomena the first time, that goes along with the program of the meaning that you derive from the symbol of what presents itself. Lack of awareness, even more so, is lying about lying. You're lying to yourself that this is your truth, when in actual fact, this is simply a lazy way of acknowledging and calling off the search, agreeing to believe. The habit becomes so conditioned that the true north is moved to the pseudo-north. The subtle energy, lying, is used in a different way than you think. It is more so a form of self-deception than making up a story that better suits your persona portrayed to the world. It is more about a subtle way you deceive yourself by lying about your emotions. Half-truths and fawning. If you don't know what fawning is, this is something that I'm still getting used to it. I'm not taking myself out of this construct. So in creating these videos, I am literally recording these videos to let my mind know that I am done. I'm done believing the lies that it is trying to prove. Fawning is people pleasing. Lying to yourself about how you feel, lying to yourself about your importance, lying to yourself about your value. Having no boundaries. And with a lack of boundaries, it is so easy to say, I don't know. It is so easy to say yes to someone else, or being so easygoing that you don't care what you do, you don't care where you go, you don't care what you eat. There's a fine line. There's a really, really fine line between being easygoing and being content and grateful to whatever shows up in your present moment versus being spinelessly fawning to please others. And you start to resent yourself so much that you are convinced that this is for the better, that this is your hero complex. And then it starts being that you have now boundaries because these people need this from you. When in actual fact, sometimes stepping back and not helping someone, you are helping them. In not spoon feeding someone, you're giving them the opportunity to grow, which is ahimsa. Not doing harm to yourself or others means sometimes in offering your help to someone else, you might be inhibiting their natural and organic growth. We are believing the lies of opinion that the mind and ego feels that they need to convince you of. Because they don't know what goes on in awareness. These lies also feed the thoughts or the concepts that confrontation will lead to ease. A lot of these lies are an autopilot, and you are not even aware how they affect your quality of life. The only means to study awareness is self-observation, a genuine inquiry inward. No one can do it for you. No one can create awareness for you. Someone or something else may trigger awareness, like watching this video is triggering awareness. But it is still up to you to follow through with it. It is up to you to stop prioritizing the half-truths that your mind wants you to believe. It is up to you to stop prioritizing expectation above actuality. So hearing this, your mind will open up the window to awareness. And it will whisper or maybe even shout, I am aware. And how long for that to disappear? The mind is lazy. It has to be a genuine inquiry. Awareness and thoughts is not the same thing. Namaste.